Marcus.
Yo, it's your boy Mark Smith, also known as Akers, also known as the coolest guy in sports. Back with another Who's Better. This time I have Khris Middelton versus Gordon Hayward on the menu. Who is better between the two? Khris Middelton in 54 games this season, averaging 31.1 minutes per game, 17.1 points per game, shooting 43.6 from the field, 37.8 from the three-point line, 5.8 rebounds, 4.2 assists per game, 0.1 blocks per game, 1.1 steals per game, 84.6 from the free throw line. Gordon Hayward in 53 games, 26 minutes per game, averaging 11.2 points per game, 43.8 from the field, 33.7 from the three-point line, 4.6 rebounds, 3.5 assists per game, 0.3 blocks per game, 1 steal per game, 85.2 from the free throw line. That being said, who is better between the two? Now, a lot of people going to say that Khris Middelton is having an outstanding season. He went to the All-Star game for his first time ever, and he's the second player on the Bucks. That's what most casual NBA fans would say, but I'm here to tell you that he's a great two-way player, but he's not the second best player on the Bucks. Second best player on the Bucks is Eric Bledsoe. I believe Eric Bledsoe should have been voted in over him in the All-Star game this year. Bledsoe's been a more consistent secondary option this season than Khris Middelton, and he's a better two-way player than Khris Middelton has been this season, at least, compared to last season. Khris Middelton's stats are down. Now, people are going to say it's because his usage rate is down compared to last year. It's only down by 1%. Khris Middelton was averaging about 3 more points last year, shooting it better from the field, about 46% from the field, 35% from the three-point line, 88% from the free throw line. His true shooting percentage was 57.7 from the field as well. So he's kind of digressed a little bit in Coach Bud's system. But some people are going to say that's because he's playing fewer possessions. And the Bucks are basically playing at a much faster pace. But Khris Middelton kind of went from a guy that can basically hit any spots on the court, mid-range. That was his game. To now he's just a purely three-point shooter, 3-and-D type of guy. And that has a lot to do with the analytical system that goes to play with the NBA. Coaches and the team tells you shoot more threes, and it kind of causes his percentages to not be as more efficient as they were last year because he's regressed because he's not really shooting at the same spots that he was during last season and the spots that he feels most comfortable with. Now, he'll hit the wide open shot, but sometimes he's taking contested threes, and that's not really his game, and he's shooting very, very poor from the mid-range this season, but the reason is because everybody's so focused on analytics. Get up more threes, get up more threes, get up more threes, get a layup, do not shoot the mid-range, and that's really Khris Middelton's game. For him and Gordon Hayward is coming back from a terrible ankle injury. Gordon Hayward really should be making his debut. Me personally, he should have been making his debut right about now after the All-Star break, but he came back so fast, and it's just kind of like, he hasn't really had the chance to get back to that all-star form. Now, everybody knows a major injury like that, you need a year playing in the NBA until you kind of get back to your normal self. Hopefully, Gordon Hayward gets back to his normal self. But if you look at his stats right now, he's only playing about 25 minutes per game. We know that the Boston Celtics have some chemistry issues. But if you translate his stats to the minutes that Khris Middelton is playing, he's kind of on par with the same thing. So people would love to say that Khris Middelton is better than Gordon Hayward, but is he really better than Gordon Hayward, or is he really just playing more minutes per game? Because if Gordon Hayward was playing more minutes per game than Khris Middelton, or the same amount of minutes, their stats would be very, very similar. So I'm not going to sit up and say that Khris Middelton is better than Gordon Hayward because I don't believe that. I just think that Gordon Hayward is coming off a terrible, terrible injury. And I haven't really been too impressed by Khris Middelton's season compared to last season where I thought he should have been an all-star over Goran Dragic. But this season, I'm not really impressed. But we know that the Bucks are number 1 seed, and Khris Middelton was kind of like the next man up. But I don't think in the offseason, teams got to be very, very conscious and worried about doing what they kind of did to Gordon Hayward. Even though I think Gordon Hayward is a way better player in his career-wise. Maybe not this season. I'm going to roll with Khris Middelton being better than Gordon Hayward this season, but it's really a toss-up. You really can do heads or tails, to be honest, because, like I said, Gordon Hayward's not playing a lot of minutes. Gordon Hayward is coming off the bench, as well as a lot of factors that come into play with the Gordon Hayward situation with the Boston Celtics. So, yes, Khris Middelton is having a better season, but if I had to bet some money on in the future, who I'd rather have, Khris Middelton or Gordon Hayward, I'm going to bet on Gordon Hayward because I've seen Gordon Hayward lead a team to the playoffs. I've seen him be this number one scoring option. Khris Middelton is the perfect, like, souped up role player, basically, on a championship caliber team. But if he's your second best player, I don't think the Bucks are going to win a finals with him being their second best player. I don't even think he's their second best player right now. I think it's Eric Bledsoe. So he's really like their third best player on their team, which kind of fits the role that he needs to be in. But teams got to be very, very cautious and very, very worried about giving him a max contract in the summer. We've seen it happen before with the Adi Porters. We even seen it happen with Gordon Hayward, even though Gordon Hayward, I think, is a great player. We seen when Gordon Hayward was averaging 25 and 5, they were talking about he was just as good as Paul George and he was a top 25 player. Not saying anybody's saying about Khris Middelton, but teams do not want to get in the Adi Porter situation, the Gordon Hayward situation, where you overpay for a guy who's really nothing but, I want to say, a third option on a championship counter, maybe even a fourth option, and probably a first option on a borderline playoff team. And Gordon Hayward got paid, but Gordon Hayward, like I said, he led the Jazz to the playoffs. He was averaging 25 and 5. And Khris Middelton is probably going to get paid this offseason, but I hope the Bucks don't make the same mistake that the Washington Wizards paid, basically overpaying for a guy who is good, a souped-up role player. He's good. He may be an all-star once every blue moon like Khris Middelton this season, but he's not really an all-star. That's what I'm saying. That's what Khris Middelton is. And if I had to pick, like I said, I would pick Khris Middelton this season over Gordon Hayward. But overall, I think Gordon Hayward is the much, much better player. And I think the Gordon Hayward we're seeing right now is not the Gordon Hayward we're going to keep seeing in the future, because he's going to get better. He's going to get more healthy, and he's going to show you that he's still capable of averaging anywhere between 17 to 20 points per game if he gets the right minutes. Now, he's in Boston where they got guys that are just as good as him, even if not better. So your role plays a part in all those things. But like I said, I just don't think that overall in the future, Khris Middelton is going to be better than Gordon Hayward. So right now, of course, people are going to look at the numbers and say that Khris Middelton is better than Gordon Hayward. But if you do per 36 minutes, Gordon Hayward's numbers looks very, very similar to what Khris Middelton is averaging right now. But what do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments below. Are you rolling with Khris Middelton or are you rolling with Gordon Hayward? It's your boy, Mike K. Smith, also known as AK. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on these videos. I'm gone, man. Peace.